Look, fair warning, I'm going to be extremely blunt and direct in this video. In fact, if you are a very conservative Republican or a very liberal Democrat, you will absolutely hate my guts from this day forward. Just a fact of life. I'm going to rub you the wrong way. Not trying to. It's not my intention to trigger the ultra conservative and the ultra liberal. Not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is speak the mind of the silent majority. Because we have a problem. And if you read the title and you clicked on the video, you know what we're going to talk about. Now, because the title can only be so many letters and so many words, I couldn't fit Joe Biden into this. But if you go look, since COVID-19 lockdowns, President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden and Congress, Republican-controlled and Democrat-controlled, have made things worse. They have not made things better. Now, we can have arguments about why. I mean, I think it just bottom line is they want to keep their power. So let's use the stock market being up as an excuse of why where power should be staying and the economy's good. So when the Democrats are in office, oh my God, the stock market's up because we're doing great with the economy. The Republicans, the stock market's at an all-time high, so we're really doing good with the economy. The stock market is one barometer. And right now, a lot of the stock market is being propped up by AI. And you can go look that up yourself. If you take away all the AI companies and all the inflated AI numbers, and you take away all that inflationary information, and you just go off the companies that are not dealing with tech, the stock market doesn't look that great. It's not horrible, but it doesn't look as great as they want to make it out to be. Okay? But policies, and the most currently, the war in Iran, which is still far from being settled and is affecting everything from fuel prices to electricity prices. So when you go plug in your car to charge it at night, when you go fill up your diesel truck, you fill up your gas tank, you're paying a lot more than you were before we went and fought a war over nuclear weapons. We had a 20-year war about that. Terrorism and weapons of mass destruction. It's hurting us. First off, let's be very clear that the outdoor industry, the RV industry, was going to be down this year no matter what. I've talked about that in late 2025 and early here in this year in 2026. It was going to be down, and I figured it was going to be down between 8 and 9%. But to be down almost 20% in shipments, and that's the headline. That's more than people worried about quality or worried about price. Okay, now we've covered that in surveys. Okay, and if you want that information, I'll give that to you a little bit later on in this video. And by the way, we're going to talk about a solution in this video. It's not going to just be a bitch fest for the whole thing. We're going to talk about the problem, and I actually have 3 easy solutions we're going to talk about a little bit later that are not extreme and not manipulative and not silly. They're actually real world 3 solutions that actually can help solve the problem by the end of 2026 and into the middle of 2027. And we'll get to that in a minute. But what's the problem? So when shipments are almost 20% down across the board in the RV industry or the boat industry or trucks or power sports or tents or fishing poles, okay? You start to cut back on hours, cut back on labor, start to cut back on production. Cutting back production and cutting back labor costs is a survival mode situation. It actually makes quality worse. If those technicians that bitch and complain all over the internet that, oh yeah, this brand sucks and this brand sucks. Imagine now inconsistency of how many you're building a week, building a day. One day it's 3, one day it's 1, one day it's 0. Oh, now you're taking 2 weeks off. Come back in 2 weeks, we'll restart again. Do you think quality gets better or worse when production is inconsistent? It gets worse. It really does. You know, the major part about COVID and COVID units, which we've talked about in the past, is the fact that there were too many being built. So there's a sweet spot where every manufacturer, and I've said this a million times over 5 years, there is a sweet spot where a manufacturer has its best and biggest and best quality. For every manufacturer, it's different. Maybe for Brinkley, as an example, it might be 10 a day. Maybe that's the number. Maybe 50 a week, 10 a day is a sweet spot where Brinkley has the highest, best quality. Maybe it's 30, maybe it's 25. Whatever that benchmark is, when you do way more or way less, it hurts quality. Period. Fact of life. Okay, so what does that do for the consumer? Well, now the consumer has less options. Now, while sometimes that's a benefit, but when you have a manufacturer like Rockwood and Flagstaff from Forest River that have 34 floor plans, but you're only going to build 5 because of the shrinking economy, what does that do to the consumer that sees 34 floor plans and wants to see at least half of them before they make a decision? And they can't find half, they can only find 5 or 6. It slows down their buying process. Not to mention the folks that were on the fence about buying an RV, not because of quality, but because of the economy. And now you have this up, down of groceries are coming down, whoop, they went back up. Groceries went down, whoop, they're going back up. Fuel, whoa, okay, whoa, okay, whoa. I mean, it's crazy. And you know what? Let's be realistic. I'm only scratching the surface when it comes to this information. Obviously, there's more details and context, but I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. Now, earlier, I mentioned that I have a 3-step process that could be the solution, not only to help out motorhome manufacturers and travel trailer, fifth wheel toy haulers, etc., but also would help boats, tents, fishing, power sports. It would help any industry that deals with outdoors or being out in the boondocks, we could call. And it's going to sound extreme at first, but if you sit back and you have your cup of joe or glass of wine or whatever your beverage may be, you may realize that this would be the best way to save as many manufacturers as possible. Try to prevent a one-store monopoly, and at the same time bring the consumer back into an industry and into a lifestyle that's actually really affordable. Okay, so step one. Step one is to have an understanding that we have way too many brands that sell the same product. Okay, and this is not an offense to a manufacturer, but if you actually look at it, Keystone RV, Forest River RV, and several other manufacturers build the same coach and slap a different sticker on it so they could put it at 4 different dealers in a territory to try to spruce up, I guess you could say, competition, try to expand their market share. So for example, and again, Forest River can come shoot me later about this, metaphorically speaking, but Wildwood, Salem, Evo, all the same travel trailer with a different sticker slapped on it. Cherokee, and Gray Wolf, same product. Hideout, Springdale when it comes to Keystone, same product. Forest River Rockwood, Forest River Flagstaff, same product, different sticker slapped on the front of it. So the first step the manufacturers can make is to cancel all the secondary brands that are on multiple lots. Because what's happening is you're seeing a consumer who walks into the same unit at 9 different places and it has a different name on it. Same construction, same appliances, same everything. And they start to wonder who and why are they doing this. Now, it was cute when Winnebago and Itasca used to do it. And it used to be cute when you used to have Forest River Forester and Sunseeker. But as time has gone on, it doesn't work that way anymore. So getting rid of those secondary brands is going to make the shopping experience better for the consumer. Yes, you're going to have less dealerships in a certain area. Yes, more than likely, said dealerships are not going to basically take $100 deals to sell travel trailers because they're overloaded because everybody's got the same damn coach within a 2-hour drive. So the consumer might pay a little bit more, but at the end of the day, when you're building one brand instead of 3 out of the same factory, you get to get down to that sweet spot of the right amount of units that you're going to build to keep the quality proper. And on top of that, the consumer isn't going to sit there and go, well, what's the difference between the 3, and start having arguments with idiot salespeople that don't know what they're talking about, and watch it just turn into a nightmare. So that's step 1. Step 2 is the manufacturers and the dealerships need to stop producing new inventory for the entire summer of 2026. They need to furlough all of their workers until after dealer days in September. Furlough them, pay them the 3 months of unemployment or whatever that looks like, shut down the factories, and go back to the actual people you're buying the glue from, the wood, the aluminum, and all those things, and tell them directly, we cannot manufacture and buy it the way you want us to buy unless we find a way to decrease the price. Go back to the drawing board as an industry, not a store, not as Forest River, but all the manufacturers, Forest River, Grand Design, Winnebago, Brinkley, Genesis Supreme, Nexus, every one of the owners need to come together and go to the people that supply them all the crap that has gone through the roof price-wise, wood, steel, aluminum, things of that nature, and renegotiate the deal, or tell them, piss off, we'll just close down. Now where are you going to go? What that's going to do is allow every single manufacturer, if they so choose, Brinkley included, okay, it would allow them to decide, do I want to build a 26-foot travel trailer with a slide that has minimal cabinets, no solar, small, little 12-volt fridge with a slide, walk around queen bed, maybe a couple bunks, where it actually lands at a dealership lot in California, Washington, Florida, all the further away places from the factory, and those dealers can sell it for $19,995. Because at that point, which is step 3 of the process, if you can get to a point where we can sell as dealerships a brand new cheapy trailer that has no stabilizers, no solar, none of the gimmicky stuff, and has minimal storage, cheap seating, cheap dinette, cheap beds, and we could sell that unit for $19,995, it would bring back the market in 2027. Why? Because now we're back to where we were in 2018 and 19, where we could take a person or a family of 6 and they can put 0 down on a travel trailer like that and still keep their payment under $250 a month. And that's the sweet spot for a lot of these folks. If you look at what I have been able to sell over the last year, even prior to the Iran war, with all the bull crap that the politicians have put in place that have absolutely hurt us as a country, people still have the payment sense of, I can afford $250 or less a month. And they cannot get that payment in what we sell now because the price is $8,000 to $9,000 too high in an entry-level trailer to help them out. Now, part of step 3 is understanding that at some point, the manufacturers are going to have to throw money at everything, especially aluminum-sided travel trailers. You're just going to have to throw money at it to get them off the lot. If the manufacturers do all of that, by January of 2027, the factories will not have to worry about one day we're doing 4, one day we're doing 5, one day we're doing 10. It would be a streamlined process. So let's recap. First thing is, you stop with the secondary brands. If you're Cherokee, you build Grey Wolf or Cherokee. You don't build both. If you're Wildwood, Salem, Evo, you pick one and you build one. If you're Catalina or Clipper, you build one or the other. They're all mostly the same factory anyway. Now you're building for one dealer base. Now you get to pick your dealer partner better. Now there's no heavy discounts to the dealers like Camping World and Blue Compass. Now all of a sudden you got one brand in the market. So if the dealer wants that brand, they can't sit there and play patty cake, baker's man. Now, when I talked about the surveys and what that kind of looked like when I actually reviewed them, if you go to this video right here, you'll actually get more information about how I gathered that. Until next time, remember that RV always stands for toolkit and sense of humor.